All right, our next guest is a former professional athlete. However, he has spent the last 4 years trying to bridge the gap of communication between police officers and civilians at traffic stops. Michael Odieri joins us now. He's the man behind the new app called Check, and it all started with his own experience at a traffic stop. Good morning, Michael.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
Hey, you bet. I wanted to start off by asking you what happened that day that you were pulled over?
Yes. When I was pulled over, the officer came to the window and asked for my driver's license. And when I went to go grab it, the next thing you know, I'm looking at the barrel of his weapon, right? And to really understand why I wanted to go, I went and did over 80 hours of police ride-alongs to really understand the process that law enforcement go through.
Wow. Oh my gosh, how terrifying. Even you telling me that, my heart started beating for you. Now, that happened a few years back, but because of that experience, you created this potential life-saving technology. It's called Check. How does it work?
Yes. It's a user, it's easy, right? A user would pre-register, pre-download the application, right? Whenever an officer pulls someone over, one thing that we wanted to make sure is that the process for law enforcement is still essentially the same. So the officer will search the person's license plate. And when that happens, it triggers a video conversation with the motorist that they just pulled over. And on the officer's end, he's able to retrieve the motorist's driver's license, insurance, and background information before having to step out the car if he needs to. Like law enforcement they say it's a tool, right? One of the most dangerous part of their job is a traffic stop, not really knowing who they're about to approach. So that's what Check tries to alleviate by bridging the gap.
I love this. This is great. It's so high tech. It's so innovative also. But you say in order for this to work, both sides need to work at it. So who have you seen make these changes and kind of take this action?
Yes. So first and foremost, I got to give some applause to, Chief Barnett at Kyle. Him and his officers have been instrumental in providing feedback. They were actually there to test the app. You have Officer Bill Lobos, who's also vying for sheriff, but he's also he speaks about 21st century policing and using new technology, new ways to help law enforcement, especially out in the field. And then you have new emerging companies like the CEO of Survivor, Brian Hogan, who has a virtual reality technology to help law enforcement and training. There's so many officers or police departments that are now, trying to bring accountability and trust into their department. And those like Chief Radford in Lakeway and Lieutenant Montez in Bee Cave, who are using new technologies to bring into their vehicles to help their police officers conduct their daily job activities.
Now, I'm hearing some Central Texas police departments there.
Yes.
But does your local police department have to have the app before you buy the app? I mean, that's how it works, though, right?
So we're not selling the app, right? The app is free for the motorists. But yes, your local police department will have the platform. They will have the platform for it to be able to work with the motorist. But yes.
Okay.
They would need to have it.
And you mentioned that you went along to learn how the other side works, the law enforcement side. You went along on some ride-alongs, and that actually, you really benefited from that. I'm sure it was eye-opening.
Yeah, it really was. It really was. It's understanding their process when they pull someone over. You don't know who you're about to approach. You don't know information. And also, imagine an officer, you're standing on the side of the road, right? There's cars zooming by you, and you have to conduct research, investigation, and try to figure out who you're talking to, all in a short period of time. So again, what we believe is in order to bridge the gap, we need both sides. So how do we bring safety, accountability, and trust, and provide that to not just law enforcement, but also motorists? So again, the whole entire goal is bridging the gap, and how do we bring both sides to make that happen? And that's where Check comes in as the bridge, the technology bridge.
You know, Michael, I was telling my team about this yesterday, and Paige had a great question. She says, I wonder if he's talked to that police officer that pulled him over. Have you let him know that because of that experience that he initiated and a part of, that you've created this?
Actually, I have not. It would be very interesting to speak with that law enforcement officer to show him and even get some more information, because through this whole tragic experience, having and sharing my story, it's a therapy. It's been something I'm still working on doing, just because of having to go back and remember all those experiences. But it would be great to talk with that officer and also share with them.
I'd be curious to know what he has to say after you share this with him. Now, why is it important now than ever that you're making this available?
Because the current climate, right? It's not just now, but with everything that's taken place with COVID, with an unjust system, with everything that's just happening, right? This is the time to there's no distraction, right? This is the time where the society is focused and we see the problem that's right in front of us, and how do we address this issue? How do we overcome it? How do we solve it? How do we stand up and put this problem in check?
All right, Michael. Hey, you know what? I'm very proud of you. I'd like to share with everybody right now, he's also a Texas State Bobcat, as I am. So from one Bobcat to another, very proud of what you're doing. Eat 'em up, cats. And thank you for sharing that with us this morning. Good morning, Texas. Stay safe and healthy, okay?
Thank you very much for having me.